You know what they say about humans? Nothing good, that's what. And as a proud member of the Vaxian Empire's intelligence division, I have spent the better part of my career documenting exactly why these pink, squishy creatures are the galaxy's biggest joke. My name is Crix9, and trust me when I tell you that after 47 rotations of studying these so-called dangerous bipeds, I have seen everything there is to see. Spoiler alert, it's not impressive. But this particular incident, well, let's just say it made me question everything I thought I knew about the universe. And considering I have 3 brains, that's saying something. It all started on Nexus Station, that massive trading hub where every species in the known galaxy comes to peddle their wares and pretend they are civilized. The humans had recently been granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, much to everyone's amusement. I mean, seriously? These creatures couldn't even figure out faster than light travel without accidentally blowing up half their solar system first. I was stationed there as an observer, filing my usual reports about human incompetence when the entertainment began. The central plaza was buzzing with its typical chaos. Zephyrian merchants hawked their bioluminescent crystals, Krellian diplomats argued loudly about trade routes, and somewhere in the mix, a small group of humans sat quietly at a food vendor's stall. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The humans weren't causing trouble, which was unusual enough to warrant attention. They were just sitting there, eating some sort of processed protein paste and talking in their soft, ridiculous voices. There were 4 of them. 2 males, 1 elderly female, and a young female who couldn't have been more than 20 standard years old. Her name, I later learned, was Maya Singh. Remarkable in every way, really. Brown hair, brown eyes, standard human features, about as threatening as a Terran house cat, if you ask me. The eldest human, probably their pack leader, was telling some boring story about agricultural yields back on Earth. Riveting stuff, truly. The younger male kept checking his data pad, while the other male just nodded along politely. And Maya? She was laughing. Actually laughing at their mundane conversation like it was the funniest thing in the galaxy. That's when Sergeant Vorth decided to make his grand entrance. Now, Vorth was what you might call a specimen of Gordanian masculinity. 8 feet tall, muscles like armored plating, and an ego roughly the size of a small moon. He commanded a unit of galactic peacekeepers and had a reputation for being, well, let's call it enthusiastic about maintaining order. Vorth strutted into the plaza with his usual swagger, his boots clanking against the metal flooring like some sort of percussion instrument. His unit followed behind him, a parade of various species all trying their best to look intimidating. Well, Vorth announced loudly enough for half the station to hear. Look what we have here. Humans pretending to be civilized. The entire plaza went quiet. Even the merchants stopped their hawking to watch the show. This was always entertaining, you see. Watching someone put the humans in their place was considered premium entertainment throughout the galaxy. The elderly human, whose name was Dr. Patel, looked up calmly. "Good afternoon, Sergeant. Is there something we can help you with?" Oh, the politeness. It was almost nauseating. Here was this frail old creature, faced with a Gordanian warrior who could snap him in half without breaking a sweat, and he was being polite. Classic human delusion. Vorth laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Help me? Oh, that's rich. You pathetic little creatures couldn't help a wounded prac beetle find its shell." Maya stopped laughing. Just stopped. One moment she was giggling at whatever nonsense her companions were discussing, and the next she was staring at Vorth with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not fear, exactly. Something else. "Actually," she said, her voice still soft but carrying an odd undertone, "we were just having lunch. Maybe you could find somewhere else to flex your muscles? I hear the gymnasium on level 7 is open." The plaza went even quieter, if that was possible. Several species actually gasped. A human, a young female human, had just spoken back to a galactic peacekeeper. I pulled out my recording device. This was going to be good. Vorth's face went through several interesting color changes, purple to red to something approaching black. What did you just say to me, you insignificant little worm? Maya shrugged, taking another bite of her protein paste. I suggested you visit the gym. Your hearing seems fine, so I assume the problem is with your comprehension. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'd never seen a human dig their own grave so efficiently. This was going straight into my report under examples of human stupidity, subsection death wish behaviors. The other humans at the table looked nervous. The younger male, who I think was called Tom, reached out to touch Maya's arm. Maya, maybe we should. Maybe we should what? She interrupted, still looking directly at Vorth. Apologize for existing? Submit to random intimidation? Hide in our quarters like scared children? Vorth took a step closer, then another. His hand moved to the force pike at his belt, a weapon that could stun a full-grown Krellian into unconsciousness. You need to learn some respect, human. Respect is earned, Maya replied, standing up slowly. She barely came up to Vorth's chest, looking like a child facing down a mountain. And right now all you are earning is my contempt. This was it. This was the moment where Vorth would demonstrate why messing with galactic peacekeepers was a bad idea. I zoomed in with my recorder, ready to capture the inevitable human humiliation. Vorth raised his hand, that massive Gordanian paw that could crush rock, and brought it down in a casual backhand slap toward Maya's face. Now, here's where things got unusual. The slap connected. I saw it. We all saw it. The sound echoed through the plaza like a gunshot. Maya's head snapped to the side, and she stumbled backward 2 steps. For a moment, everything was exactly as it should be. The human had been put in her place, the natural order was maintained, and Vorth was probably about to deliver some speech about knowing one's station in the galaxy. Except Maya didn't fall down. She didn't cry. She didn't even seem particularly hurt. Instead, she slowly turned her head back to face Vorth, touched the red mark on her cheek, and smiled. Not a nice smile. Not a friendly smile. Something that made my 3 stomachs clench with unexpected unease. That, she said quietly, was a mistake. Vorth laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. Oh, really? And what exactly are you going to do about it, little girl? Maya's smile widened. Nothing. The plaza remained silent, everyone waiting for the punchline. Where was the human retaliation? The typical human emotional breakdown? The begging for mercy? Nothing at all, Maya continued, still smiling that terrible smile. Because you see, I'm not the one you need to worry about. That's when Dr. Patel stood up. Now, I want you to understand something about this moment. Dr. Patel was ancient by human standards, probably pushing 80 Earth years. He had white hair, wrinkled skin, and moved with the careful deliberation of someone whose bones creaked when he walked. He looked about as threatening as a dried leaf. But when he stood up, something changed in the air. I can't explain it scientifically, but every instinct I had suddenly started screaming warnings. Sergeant Vorth, Dr. Patel said calmly, his voice carrying clearly across the silent plaza. You just struck my granddaughter. Granddaughter. Oh, that was unfortunate. You see, humans have this interesting quirk in their social programming. They are generally peaceful, almost ridiculously so. They will tolerate insults, provocations, even minor physical altercations with remarkable restraint, but threaten their family? Touch their children? That's when the evolutionary legacy of being the only predator species to successfully hunt every other predator on their planet tends to show itself. Vorth, to his credit, didn't seem to recognize the danger. So what, old man? Going to lecture me about proper conduct? File a complaint with station security? Dr. Patel smiled. It was somehow even more unsettling than Maya's had been. Oh no, nothing so civilized. The old human began walking toward Vorth with slow, measured steps. His gait was steady, purposeful, like a predator closing in on prey. The crowd instinctively moved back, creating a wider circle around the 2 figures. You know, Dr. Patel said conversationally as he approached, I have spent most of my life as a pacifist. He devoted my career to medicine, to healing, to finding peaceful solutions to problems. Vorth's hand tightened on his force pike. Stay back, human. I'm warning you. But before I became a doctor, Patel continued, ignoring the warning entirely, I had another profession. Would you like to guess what it was? Something cold settled in my chest as I watched this scene unfold. This wasn't going how it was supposed to go. The human was supposed to be afraid. They were all supposed to be afraid. I said, stay back. Vorth raised his force pike, the energy field crackling to life around its tip. Dr. Patel stopped walking. He was now close enough to touch the weapon if he reached out. I was a soldier, Sergeant. A human soldier. Do you know what that means? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Because suddenly, horrifyingly, some of us did know what that meant. Humans, you see, don't just fight in wars. They perfect the art of killing so thoroughly that they make it a science. They study it, refine it, pass down techniques from generation to generation like family recipes. And their soldiers learn to end lives with whatever tools are available, including no tools at all. It means, Dr. Patel said softly, that I spent 20 years learning how to kill things much more dangerous than you. Vorth swung the force pike in a wide arc, trying to catch the old human in the chest. It should have been a finishing blow, enough electrical energy to stop a human heart instantly. Dr. Patel moved. I'm not even sure how to describe what happened next. One moment he was standing there like a harmless old grandfather, and the next he was somehow inside Vorth's guard, one hand wrapped around the Gordanian's wrist, the other pressed against his throat. The force pike clattered to the ground, its energy field dissipating. The first thing they teach human soldiers, Patel explained calmly, as if he wasn't currently restraining a warrior twice his size, is that size doesn't matter. Strength doesn't matter. What matters is knowing exactly where to apply pressure. Vorth tried to break free, his massive muscles straining against the old human's grip. Nothing happened. It was like trying to break free from a mechanical vise. The second thing they teach us, Patel continued, is that every living creature, no matter how large or how tough, has weak points, pressure points, places where a gentle touch can cause excruciating pain or unconsciousness, or, he paused meaningfully, or death. The plaza was dead silent now. Even the background hum of the station's life support systems seemed muted. Everyone was staring at this impossible scene, a frail human grandfather casually restraining a galactic peacekeeper like he was disciplining a misbehaving child. Now, Dr. Patel said pleasantly, you are going to apologize to my granddaughter. You are going to mean it. And then you are going to walk away and never bother another human on this station again. Vorth's eyes were wide with something I'd never seen in a Gordanian before, genuine fear. I can't breathe. That's because I'm applying pressure to your carotid artery, Patel explained helpfully. Reducing blood flow to your brain. In about 15 seconds, you will lose consciousness. In 30 seconds, the damage becomes permanent. In 45 seconds, he let the sentence trail off. Vorth's voice came out as a strangled whisper. I apologize. To her, Patel corrected, nodding toward Maya, who was still standing by the table, still wearing that terrible smile. I apologize to you, Vorth gasped, looking at Maya with obvious terror. Maya tilted her head thoughtfully. Apology accepted. Grandfather, I think he's learned his lesson. Dr. Patel released his grip, and Vorth collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. The old human stepped back calmly, smoothing down his jacket as if nothing had happened. Excellent, he said cheerfully. Now then, shall we finish our lunch? But Vorth apparently wasn't quite ready to accept defeat. As Dr. Patel turned away, the Gordanian reached for a backup weapon, a small plasma blade hidden in his boot. His face was twisted with rage and humiliation as he prepared to strike the human in the back. That's when Maya moved. I'm still not entirely sure what I witnessed in that moment. Human combat techniques aren't exactly common knowledge among the galactic community. What I can tell you is that Maya covered the distance between herself and Vorth in less time than it takes to blink. Her hand shot out, fingers extended, striking 3 specific points on Vorth's skull in rapid succession. The sound was wet, final, and absolutely terrifying. Vorth froze mid-strike, the plasma blade falling from nerveless fingers. For a moment he remained kneeling there, his eyes wide and confused. Then blood began trickling from his nose, then his ears, then his eyes. He toppled forward face first onto the metal flooring with a sound like a sack of meat being dropped from a great height. Maya calmly wiped her hand on a napkin and sat back down at the table. "Grandfather," she said conversationally, "I think our food is getting cold." The plaza erupted into chaos. Let me tell you something about panic. When you have seen as many species lose their minds simultaneously as I have, you develop a certain appreciation for the artistry of mass hysteria. But this was a masterpiece. Merchants abandoned their stalls, leaving expensive goods scattered across the floor. A group of Tenthari diplomats tried to hide behind a decorative fountain. 3 Zephyrian traders actually fainted, their bioluminescent skin flickering like broken light displays. And through it all, the humans just sat there finishing their lunch. I remained frozen in place, my recording device still running, trying to process what I'd just witnessed. Sergeant Vorth, a decorated galactic peacekeeper who'd survived 14 combat campaigns, was now leaking various bodily fluids onto the station flooring. He had killed by a slip of a girl who barely weighed 50 kilograms. The other peacekeepers in Vorth's unit finally snapped out of their shock. Lieutenant Grex, a Mantonian with more combat experience than brain cells, raised his pulse rifle toward the humans. "Nobody move," he bellowed, his voice cracking slightly. "You are all under arrest for murder." Dr. Patel looked up from his meal with mild irritation. "Murder? My dear Lieutenant, that was clearly self-defense. Your sergeant was attempting to stab an elderly man in the back with a plasma weapon. That doesn't give her the right to kill him." Maya swallowed a bite of protein paste and shrugged. "Actually, it kind of does. Galactic Treaty subsection 47 clearly states that lethal force is authorized when preventing imminent bodily harm to family members." I blinked all 4 of my eyes in surprise. She knew galactic law. Most humans couldn't even spell galactic law, let alone quote specific subsections. Rex's rifle wavered. That's not how it works. Isn't it? The elderly female human spoke for the first time, her voice crisp and authoritative. "Lieutenant Grex, service number 4471 Delta 9, graduated bottom 10% of your class at the Peacekeeper Academy. Multiple disciplinary actions for excessive force. Currently under review for potential court-martial due to that incident on Kepler Station last month." The plaza went quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. This wasn't fear or shock. This was the sound of everyone suddenly realizing they were in completely unknown territory. Rex's mandibles clicked nervously. "How do you know that?" The woman smiled pleasantly. "Captain Elena Vasquez, Human Intelligence Division." "And before you ask, yes, we do have an intelligence division." Surprise. Intelligence division? The humans had an intelligence division? I'd been filing reports for 47 rotations about how these creatures could barely organize a proper breakfast, and they had an entire intelligence apparatus I'd never even heard of? Now then. Captain Vasquez continued, standing up slowly. "Let's discuss what really happened here. Your sergeant committed assault against a civilian when warned to stop. He escalated to attempted murder with a deadly weapon. My colleague's granddaughter responded with appropriate force to neutralize the threat." Appropriate force? Grex's voice hit a pitch that probably shattered glass somewhere in the station. "She killed him in 3 seconds. "Yes," Maya said calmly, "that was rather slow of me. I must be getting rusty." "Rusty? Rusty? What exactly was she practicing on?" Tom, the younger male who'd been quiet this whole time, finally spoke up. Maya, maybe don't advertise your skill set quite so openly. Why not? She asked, genuinely curious. It's not like it's classified information. Basic combat training is mandatory for all humans over 16. Hand-to-hand weapons, tactical assessment, pressure point targeting, standard curriculum. Standard curriculum. They taught their children to kill with their bare hands as standard curriculum. I felt a chill run down all three of my spines as certain inconsistencies in my research suddenly began making sense. Human agricultural accidents that coincidentally eliminated local predator populations. Industrial mishaps that always seemed to occur when hostile species threatened human colonies. Diplomatic incidents where human negotiators somehow managed to convince much larger, stronger species to accept surprisingly favorable terms. Lieutenant, Captain Vasquez said pleasantly, I suggest you contact Station Command. Tell them there's been an incident requiring proper investigation. I'm sure they will want to review the security footage. Security footage. Of course. The entire incident had been recorded by the station's monitoring systems. And what that footage would show was exactly what had happened. A Galactic peacekeeper assaulting a civilian, then attempting murder before being neutralized by said civilian's family member. Grex looked around desperately, probably hoping for support from his unit. What he found instead were 5 other peacekeepers who were suddenly very interested in examining their boots. This isn't over, he muttered, lowering his weapon. Oh, I rather think it is, Dr. Patel said mildly. Unless you'd like to discuss the matter further? I'm always happy to have a conversation. The threat in those words was so subtle, so politely delivered, that it took me a moment to recognize it for what it was. But Grex got the message immediately. His skin went pale, and he actually took a step backward. No, sir. No further discussion necessary. Excellent. Then perhaps you could arrange for someone to clean up this mess? The sight of blood tends to upset some of the more sensitive species. As the peacekeepers began coordinating cleanup efforts and crowd control, I found myself approaching the human table. Professional curiosity, you understand. This was potentially the most significant intelligence development in galactic history. Excuse me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm Crix-9, Vaxian Intelligence. Would it be possible to ask a few questions? Captain Vasquez looked me up and down with eyes that missed absolutely nothing. Vaxian Intelligence. The ones who have been filing reports classifying humans as harmless but amusing for the past 4 decades? My throat sacs deflated in embarrassment. Those reports may require some revision. Maya laughed, and this time the sound was genuinely warm rather than terrifying. Oh, don't feel bad. We have been working very hard to maintain that impression. Working hard? Well, sure, she said, as if it was obvious. Do you have any idea how peaceful things are when everyone thinks you are harmless? We can go anywhere, do anything, trade with anyone. No one sees us as a threat, so they don't bother with military buildups or defensive preparations when we are around. Dr. Patel nodded approvingly. The best defense is to be so thoroughly underestimated that no one considers you worth defending against. I stared at them, my 3 brains struggling to process the implications. You have been deliberately acting incompetent? Not acting, Tom corrected. We really are kind of a mess most of the time. We just save the competence for when it matters. Like when some oversized bully decides to smack around a family member, Maya added cheerfully. Captain Vasquez checked her chronometer. Speaking of which, we should probably get going. Maya, Tom, you have that cultural exchange meeting in an hour. Cultural exchange. Right. Because nothing said cultural exchange quite like demonstrating that your species could casually execute trained warriors with their bare hands. As the humans began gathering their belongings, I couldn't help myself. How many of you are there? Really trained, I mean? Dr. Patel paused in packing his datapad. Trained in what, exactly? Combat. Intelligence. Whatever it is you actually do. The old man exchanged glances with his companions, and I saw something pass between them. Some kind of silent communication that spoke of shared secrets and hidden depths. All of us, he said finally. Every single human who leaves Earth receives training. We couldn't survive out here otherwise. But your colonies, I protested. They are farmers, miners, researchers, who can also disable surveillance systems, improvise explosives from agricultural chemicals, and conduct guerrilla warfare using mining equipment, Maya said matter-of-factly. You didn't think we'd send defenseless civilians into a galaxy full of potentially hostile species, did you? Actually, that's exactly what I'd thought, because that's what every other species did. You specialized. Warriors fought, farmers farmed, scientists researched. You didn't cross-train everyone to be a potential commando. But then again, no other species had evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them all the time. The thing about humans, Captain Vasquez said, shouldering her pack, is that we are really, really good at pretending to be whatever people expect us to be. Harmless refugees, bumbling explorers, peaceful traders, it's all true, in its way. But it's not the whole truth. They began walking toward the exit, leaving me standing there with a recording device full of footage that was going to revolutionize galactic politics and a growing suspicion that everything I thought I knew about the universe was wrong. Wait, I called after them. What am I supposed to tell my supervisors? How do I explain all this? Dr. Patel turned back with that same pleasant smile that had preceded Vorth's demise. Tell them the truth, Crix 9. Tell them that humans are exactly what we have always claimed to be, a peaceful species that just wants to get along with everyone. But what about, I gestured helplessly at the bloodstain where Vorth had fallen. Oh, that? Maya waved dismissively. That was just a family matter. Nothing to do with politics or interspecies relations. We are still the same harmless, amusing little creatures we have always been. Unless someone threatens our family, Tom added quietly. Or our friends, Captain Vasquez contributed. Or our colonies, Dr. Patel finished. But other than that, Maya said brightly, completely harmless. They walked away, chatting casually about dinner plans and scheduling conflicts, leaving me alone with the most terrifying realization of my career. The humans hadn't been hiding their capabilities because they were weak. They'd been hiding them because they were so overwhelmingly strong that revealing the truth would have terrified every other species in the galaxy into a preemptive war. And now, standing in that plaza with cleanup crews scrubbing away the remains of a galactic peacekeeper who'd made the mistake of underestimating them, I finally understood why the humans had been so eager to join the galactic community as junior partners. It wasn't because they needed our protection. It was because we needed theirs. The most dangerous predators, after all, are the ones that convince their prey they are not predators at all. I looked down at my recording device, then up at the humans disappearing into the crowd, just another family of harmless tourists enjoying their vacation. My report was going to be very, very interesting,